Hello, good evening and welcome to Biz1st Review 360, your weekly roundup of the top business stories and developments impacting the economy. I'm Nadim Majid. Let's start with a look at the top stories this week. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka, or CBSL, says that plans are in the pipeline for a $1.5 billion sovereign bond issue this year.
Central Bank Governor Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy told a media briefing that the CBSL has sought cabinet approval to tap foreign capital markets to raise funds up to $1.5 billion.
The sovereign bond, I can tell you this, there is up to $1 billion, up to $1 billion. Parliamentary approval has been got for $1 billion for the sovereign, for the syndicated loan, and we are asking for parliamentary approval, which hopefully will go through in the next week or two, for 1.5 billion, up to cabinet, not parliamentary, both are cabinet approval, up to 1.5 billion for the sovereign bond.
He said the bank aims to boost foreign reserves to $7.4 billion by end 2017. Commenting on private sector credit, the central bank governor said the bank intends to tackle credit growth at state banks.
Because one aspect that worries us is the increase in private sector credit. There, if you look at it, the two state banks are lending at 30% plus. I think the Bank of Ceylon at about, the growth is about 30%, People's Bank is about 32%. The other banks, both the domestic private banks as well as foreign banks, are below 20% now. If you recall, I've been saying that we were looking to see private sector credit end up at about 20% growth by the end of the year. We ended up with 21.9. So, but that increment is largely due to the state banks, which have responded less to the tightening of monetary policy. And we intend to speak to them and see how this can be addressed. Because, of course, if the transmission mechanism gets distorted, if the state banks are not as sensitive to interest rates as we would like them to be. And another reason why we had to be cautious about increasing interest rates at this point is that market rates are going up. Partly because the government is raising a lot of money in the first half of the year. So there is that tightening happening already at a time when there is a significant output gap in the economy. Growth, we hope, will end up at about 4.5% in 2016, and the potential growth rate for the economy is around 6%. So there is a significant output gap as well. So for all these reasons, the Monetary Board decided to leave rates as they are, but we will keep monitoring it very closely.
The CBSL governor went on to reassure the media that the Monetary Board has taken action to curtail the activities of controversial primary dealer Perpetual Treasuries. The central bank has been under pressure by the media, opposition parties and civil society groups over delays in holding individuals accountable for causing losses worth billions of rupees through irregular bond transactions involving perpetual treasuries. It is a leaked internal report of the central bank that shed light on the conduct of perpetual treasuries that had benefited by borrowing billions of rupees under low interest rates during the tenure of former Governor Arjuna Mahendran. However, Governor Kumaraswamy was of the view that leaking a highly confidential internal report on the operations of perpetual treasuries was unprofessional.
The central bank is different from many institutions because there are very, very strong secrecy provisions in the Monetary Law Act. So we can't operate as openly as other institutions can. That is one. And two, a lot of these things, they get leaked before the process is over. That on-site report was leaked, but nobody can say we haven't taken action. We have taken action. So the point is, if the process has been completed, there is no right for anybody to leak. That is totally unprofessional. But to leak it before the process is over is, I think, very destructive.
The Ministry of National Policies and Economic Affairs launched Swashakti this week. Swashakti is a loan scheme targeted at generating employment at the micro and small and medium enterprise level.
The government has allocated 4 billion rupees through a loan program called Swashakti, with the hope that banks will help grow it threefold to establish a fund of 12 billion rupees to boost small and medium-scale enterprises in the island. The government is hoping that the loan scheme would support broader policy objectives aimed at creating 1 million jobs. A country cannot be developed without improving the economy of the village marketplace. The objective of the Swashakti program is to create 25,000 businesses out of 25,000 ideas. We want to strengthen the village economy with 25,000 new businesses.
The troubled national carrier Sri Lankan Airlines says that the wet lease of aircraft to Pakistan International Airlines, or PIA, has been most profitable. Interestingly enough, the statement through which Sri Lankan Airlines made this claim did not contain any numerical data to back up the claim.
The airline, releasing a statement, said that the aircraft leased to Pakistan International Airlines for 6 months, along with a crew, maintenance and insurance, will rejoin the Sri Lankan fleet within the next couple of weeks. The aircraft is to be repainted with the national carrier's colours. Sri Lankan Airlines says the lease has helped to lift the bottom line of the company at a time when it was facing significant challenges in transforming the financial fortunes of the airline and returning it to profitability.
Let's take a look at some other stories that made headlines this week.
Architect 2017, an exhibition hosted by the Sri Lanka Institute of Architects, will be held for the 35th consecutive year at the BMICH from the 16th to the 19th of this month. The members' work and trade exhibition featuring work of Sri Lankan architects will be open to the general public from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. This exhibition will showcase the work of architectural firms, creations, trade stalls, coursework and new technologies available in the local market. The exhibition is mainly targeted at the general public and expects to create awareness on the importance of any construction being built with the assistance and consultation of experts. One of the highlights at the exhibition will be the SLIA Information Centre, where visitors will get the opportunity to learn firsthand about the practice of architecture. The stalls established there will also be a resource hub to young individuals who wish to pursue architecture as a career.
Technology companies have become so powerful and influential that many governments around the world are starting to treat them like actual nation states. Let's cross over to Denmark, where the government is appointing ambassadors for the tech giants.
Denmark recently said that it would appoint a new digital ambassador to work with some of the world's biggest tech companies like Microsoft, Apple and Google. The Scandinavian country says these tech giants have just as much influence and impact on the nation as other countries. Denmark is yet to specify the duties of the digital ambassador, dubbed as the Silicon Valley ambassador by some. According to the Washington Post, the tech ambassador will establish and prioritize comprehensive relations between tech companies and Denmark.
On the other side of this short commercial break, a chat with the president of the Sri Lanka Institute of Architects. Welcome back to Biz1st Review 360. On our special segment Trending Today, we bring you an array of over 1,000 motor cars and motorcycles that are up for auction in Paris. The collection also features a 1935 Aston Martin and a 1955 Mercedes-Benz.
A dream collection of vintage cars and motorcycles was on display in Paris this week, ahead of a Bonhams auction, which coincides with Retro Mobile Week, a fair that has made Paris a car collector's capital. Over 100 cars produced over a period ranging from the turn of last century to the 1990s were on display under the stately glassed roof of the Grand Palais. In 1901, the Grand Palais welcomed the first Paris Motor Show, and now, over 100 years later, a selection of 133 vintage cars are up for grabs. Among the stars of the show is Aston Martin Ulster. Built in 1935, 31 of them were produced, 28 still survive. The pre-war Aston Martin Ulster Sports is estimated to fetch between 1.6 and 1.8 million euro, while the Bentley S1 is estimated between 1 and 1.5 million euro. Bids for the Mercedes-Benz could range from 1.1 to 1.3 million euro. Organisers say there would always be a demand for collectors' cars, no matter what the future brings.
Are mega skyscrapers a sign of economic development, or is it simply an instance of egoism trumping prudence? I sat down with the president of the Sri Lanka Institute of Architects, Harsha Fernando, to find out more ahead of the Architect 2017 exhibition, which is starting next week. We're in conversation this evening with architect Harsha Fernando, the president of the Sri Lanka Institute of Architects, ahead of the Architect 2017 exhibition, which is being organized for the 35th consecutive year by the SLIA. Mr. Fernando, thank you very much for speaking to Biz1st Review 360. Can I start by asking you, this is the 35th consecutive year that the Architect exhibition is being organized. What's being done different this time around? What are the aspirations?
Actually, we have been having this continuously for 35 years. And it is one of the most successful events which is happening in the building industry. And this time, I think we have got 360 stalls, which is the highest number. I think we started with 100, 115, and so on, and improving. And I think it's a big opportunity for the trade stall holders who could exhibit their work, go to the public, and mingle with the public and sell their product.
Mr. Fernando, we're seeing a boom in the construction industry in Sri Lanka, and in many emerging economies around the world, construction industry seems to be the driving force behind many of these economies. In such a backdrop, we're seeing, how do you see the young architectural talent that is coming out of Sri Lanka? Are we seeing enough architects being produced? Is there a need for more? Is there a need for change in the discipline and how it's taught?
Good question. And actually what we have done is, after the 30 years of hampered profession, we are now getting ready to face this challenge. As you very correctly said, it is one of the biggest economy in the country, and the construction industry. And architects, unfortunately, with this 30 years of war, we had to undergo certain difficulties where the practices didn't have much work, but now it has opened up so widely that we can take up the challenges. And whereas the international partners have done so much work during this period, and they have come to a level where we can't reach immediately. So what we have done is, from the institute, we are now having these CPD programs, that is the continuous professional development programs, to upgrade the architects every time. Although they are chartered architects, we keep them updated every year.
That's very interesting that you say that, with the CPD program, etc., because architecture is a discipline that is constantly evolving. We're seeing now
yes.
that around the world, there's more of a focus on green building and sustainability. Sustainability is at the tip of everyone's tongue when it comes to planning cities or even designing a house, for example. How much importance does the Sri Lanka Institute of Architects and the Architect 2017 exhibition itself, how much importance are you placing on the issue of sustainability?
Yes, since 1990s, I think that was the trendy word, being the sustainability or eco-friendly, whatever you call it. But in our education itself, from the beginning, the traditional architecture has been a very sustainable system where we learn from our university days. So this is nothing new. Actually, it is more something new to the technical professions, which they totally ignored when they learn in their curriculum. That is engineering. If you look at the other disciplines, it's only technical matters. It's numbers, or it's the building, the construction, the concrete, whatever. But architecture is totally different, and we have that background. So it's nothing new, but it's only thing we have to fall into the trend that in the world trends of sustainability, and we show our potential. So, and for example, we had these ACGS, that is the Acacia Architects conference on green and sustainability was held in Colombo last August. And it was a very, very successful conference. And this time it's happening in Thailand. So it's one of the key members of this conference is Sri Lanka. So we have many representations in that.
Mr. Fernando, there's the theme for Architect 2017 caught my eye, piqued my curiosity. It's the return of the city, megastructure redefined. What does this theme entail? What do you mean by the return of the city, megastructure redefined?
Actually, megastructures is something that which is coming new into Colombo, or Sri Lanka rather. And what we have to do is looking at the green and sustainable point of view. It is something that we have to look at with the green, the tall buildings or the mega structures, how we incorporate this. It is not the technical stuff that we are looking at. It's not the number of air conditions, less energy or whatever. Actually, our buildings don't even match the ASHRAE codings of minimum standards. So we are energy efficient in our standards. So it's mega structures. We are trying to show in our conference with tying up with the traditional work to say that we are in it.
Mr. Fernando, there's an interesting report that I saw recently talking about how skyscrapers are a harbinger of economic decline. The examples that were highlighted in this report were the Chrysler and Empire State Buildings in New York, how they became a symbol of the Great Depression at the time in 1930s America. The World Trade Center in New York also, how it was a symbol of the stagflation of the 1970s. Petronas Towers in Kuala Lumpur, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, which was built when Dubai was in serious financial trouble. And the argument that was presented is that these skyscrapers are its ego winning out over economic prudence. As an architect, from the point of view of an architect, do you agree?
Yes, I think that article is correct. Whatever it is, although it's more, it is a state
symbol of status.
Symbol of status. Basically, that is what the governments want. And if the government doesn't give the backing, I don't think even a private developer other than in America would invest in such a thing, because they are more into return and investment. It's the pride that we look at
when designing a massive skyscraper,
yes.
so to speak. Mr. Fernando, one final question for you. We're seeing a lot of young families coming up in Sri Lanka. In fact, for the government as well, housing for the young middle class, as the Prime Minister calls it, is one of their key commitments. From the point of view as an architect, if you had to give advice to any young middle class family that's looking to design and build a home, what would your advice be?
Yes, especially the young group, upcoming group, and they need a house. And unfortunately, our banks or any other financial institutions does not help them in getting their total requirement being built at the beginning. Because with their salaries, it's very difficult to get a loan and do it. But in other countries, it's not so. They can somehow manage. If not for our assets, which our ancestors had left us, we wouldn't have ever built a house. That is the bottom line of the reality of the situation. And where they are concerned now, I think they should invest in a proper building, which is, if it is a home, yes, it should be a home rather than a house. So they should have the total wholesome product incorporated in the build thing, which they are spending on, which is they should go to an architect. They should first select the architect. That is the most important thing, and not go to the third grade, whatever said and done, the low, just to get it passed. It is not the criteria. It has to go through an architect, because he will give you, after long discussions, he will give you the best solution for the house.
For example, it's like if you had to go to courts, you get yourself a lawyer, and not just anyone off the street.
Exactly, but when you consider the law, there is no option, you have to go to a lawyer. But in this situation, you can select someone, even you can draw 4 holes and then go get it passed with the technical officers and get it done. But unfortunately, you're compelled to live for your lifetime in that house.
Mr. Fernando, thank you very much. It's been an enlightening discussion. Some good advice for if you're looking to build a home. Remember, it's a long-term investment. Always best to consult an architect. And Mr. Fernando, all the very best for Architect 2017. We're hoping that we'll see some new concepts emerging out of the exhibition. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Welcome back to the program. Central Bank Governor Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy spoke about rural economic development at the recent launch of the Swashakti loan program. Here are some of the highlights of what they had to say.
The various central bank schemes have disbursed loans amounting to rupees 79.5 billion among 917,200 MSME entrepreneurs during the last 5 years. Now, Sri Lanka has had a number of schemes to promote SMEs over the previous several decades. However, their track record has been mixed. To be successful, support for SMEs falls into 4 categories. First is training, second is inputs including technology, 3 is access to finance, and 4 is marketing. And if you look back at the history of these schemes, the most intractable problem is invariably marketing. In the past, we have tended to focus on the production function without giving enough attention to opening up marketing channels. The scheme fills the need for a government-led support mechanism to address financial, technical, marketing, and entrepreneurship needs, especially of youth and young graduates, women, and differently able people at the grassroots level. Swashakti is a credit plus scheme which offers a package of support which supplements the access to finance. As I said, things like marketing are as important, if not more important, than finance. So this scheme will look at the whole package of support. Several government departments are being mobilized to deliver the plus dimension of the credit scheme. In addition, Swashakti will contribute to broader policy objectives, particularly the one relating to the creation of 1 million new jobs. It will establish over 25,000 new businesses throughout the country, creating at least 75 businesses from each electorate. Unlike the existing loan schemes, Swashakti includes not only a loan component, but also a special grant element for startup enterprises to meet their initial expenses, which would be provided without any interest. So it's a straight grant. The central bank has provided its expertise to design this scheme and will continue to be closely involved to disburse loans and handle refinancing through the 17 participating banks that will provide loans to startup businesses. Under the scheme, each entrepreneur will be given a maximum loan amount of 250,000 rupees. This loan could be used to cover all project-related expenses, including working capital. More importantly, the rate of interest has been fixed at 5.5% to make sure the prospective borrowers are not burdened with a high cost of capital. This scheme is expected to identify existing skills and talents of potential entrepreneurs and provide them with necessary training and technical support through the Small Enterprises Development Division of the Ministry and other capacity building institutions have also been mobilized to groom these entrepreneurs to carry out these businesses.
And that's a wrap of Biz1st Review 360 for tonight. I'll see you again same time, same place next week. But until then, don't forget to check us out on Facebook by typing in Biz1st Review 360. I'm Nadim Majid. Good night and good luck.